Hello and good morning and welcome back to the Football Terrace. Hope you're all having wonderful starts to your day. It's another beautiful sunny morning. It's fresh and it's quiet. I'm sure there'll be a train past in a moment though to break my zen. But so I want to talk to you all this morning about what's going on in the transfer market. Of course, there are going to be so many stories, so much breaking information, so much is going to be released in the next 48 to kind of 36 hours. 2 days left of the transfer window open, and we're really here to continue to be this community that gives you a voice, that allows you to express what you think and what you feel. I'll interact with as many comments as I can. Please do me a big favor before we go any further and hit that like button for me, and please hit the share button as well. It's the very best way that you can support us here on the Football Terrace. And of course, a big shout out to our title sponsors, the Football Index. If you do want to join the football stock market, the link is in the description below, and use the promo code Football Terrace to get that downloaded. Now let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Bruno Fernandes situation. It's a real interesting one because I've believed all along. The one thing that I feel is a certainty is that Man United have shown interest in him, and Man United have tried to get a deal done. I also believe Tottenham are interested in the player. I don't think it's Tottenham's first choice. I think Lo Celso is, but they're struggling to get that deal done. What's very interesting from a Bruno Fernandes situation is Jorge Mendes has now been brought into the scenario, into the situation, to help to find him and finalise a move for him. Now, a lot of people last night on social media was, Jorge Mendes is not his agent, who believes this, blah, blah, blah. One thing, if you study sort of the football long enough and hard enough when it comes to the, sort of the transfer side of things, the agents, intermediaries, Jorge Mendes, yes, he isn't the employed agent of Bruno Fernandes, but Jorge Mendes is used on a very regular basis by football players, clubs, and agents. Sometimes from two parties at the same time employ him to act as an intermediary, to act as a negotiator when it comes to said transfers. And what Duncan Castles has told us is that yesterday evening, Jorge Mendes visited Ed Woodward at the Carrington training ground, at his office there, to try to push, basically offering Bruno Fernandes, trying to negotiate, trying to convince Man United to up their offer to sign the Portuguese international. Contrary to this, there are also reports that still involving Jorge Mendes, but what he's actually trying to do is broker a slightly different deal. He's trying to broker a deal where Bruno Fernandes is going to go to Tottenham, but Man United are going to get Christian Eriksen in return. That story, though, was then instantly shut down by a couple of journalists. I think Tom McDermott come out and said, no, not true at all. United inquired about Eriksen at the beginning of the window, and that was shut down. They're not getting him. They're not involved, etc., etc., etc. So, like with like we spoke about yesterday with Bruno Fernandes, there are such differences in the stories. Like we always say, no journalist, generally speaking, knows the full story and exactly what's going on. I think the positive news for Man United fans, the positive news for Tottenham fans in this situation, is that there is still a possibility that one of these clubs will sign him. Someone here says, Usman says, give up Terry, bro, we are not getting him. Hey, listen, you all know me well enough to know that I'm not emotionally invested in this transfer, although I want it personally. If it doesn't happen and nobody else comes in, I'll be frustrated with Woodward and the board. There is no doubt. To not improve this midfield after Fellaini and Herrera have parted ways, I think is criminal. If we don't sign Fernandes but we land somebody else and it's truly Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's choice, then I'm happy. Then I'm happy, because Ole's got what he wants, and managers need it. Managers need the players and personnel with the skill set, mindset, and work ethic that they desire to be there. Comment here says we need a holding midfield player. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about needing a holding midfield player. Um, that's why, again, there's a player that's been linked with us all summer, Milinkovic Savic. It could be him. Maybe that was the plan all along. However, just get the damn bid in. Whatever we're trying to do, just whack the money on the table. We spent 143 or so million pounds, 48 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. You know, we know 78 million on Harry Maguire. Look, if it costs us 70, 80 million to bring in, whether it's Bruno, whether it's Savage, if it costs that much money to bring one of these players in, get it done. Just get it done. Because whether it's Savage or Bruno Fernandes, or even if it's Longstaff, these players have the ability to go on to be absolute stellar internationals for Manchester United. They will be worth the money. They will be worth the money. And the most painful aspect of all three of these signings is that if they all have very good seasons at Newcastle, Lazio, or Sporting Lisbon respectively, because of their age and because of their quality, if they have very good seasons again, if United go back in next summer, there is a huge possibility that the transfer fee will increase. And I don't want to go over old ground here, but Man United turned down the opportunity of signing Harry Maguire for £4 million 7 years ago. They then turned down the option of signing him for, what, 50, 60 million 12 months ago. And this is the problem I have with, although they have done some good things over the course of this summer, there is no doubt. They've definitely helped to relinquish player power. There is definitely a better work ethic and culture at Manchester United. But one area that still hasn't been addressed is the club's ability to negotiate the sale and the purchase of players right. And I just get this feeling that, you know, in a year's time, we might sign Bruno Fernandes for 80 million when we could have got him for 64 million this year. And it's just more money that we're going to hemorrhage. Let's do a few of these live comments here. This is from Jimmy Woo, who says Longstaff is for Ollie to pick the ball up from De Gea and then turn fast with and move the ball. Just study his highlights and upgrade on Matic. The thing with Longstaff is that you need to do, I think because he's ginger and English, there are a lot of Man United fans that are a little bit bigoted, really. There are a lot of Man United fans that play it down. If he had black hair, you know, olive skin, and he had an Italian or a French or a Spanish name, and he was exactly the same player at exactly the same age, I believe there would be more excitement. I really, really do. If you forget YouTube highlights, go back and watch a full game of him play. Go and read scouting reports about Longstaff from over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. There has been such a buzz in the football world about this individual for a long time. I think it's very painful for my eyes to continue to read tweets from people that have no idea who he is, completely and utterly write him off. And again, he's going to be a player that's got, you know, Newcastle are in a little bit of trouble, but he's going to have a good season this year. And his valuation will be cemented, if not increased, this time next year. And honestly, I think in a couple of years' time, Man United fans will be pulling their hair out that we didn't pay £50 million for him. Comment here says, first you said the Barla is a done deal. Now he isn't coming. Now Bruno Fernandes. Where do you get your news from? You need to step your game up like other YouTubers are. Listen, mate. No, I don't know what YouTubers you're referring to. I'm doing what every other single YouTuber does when it comes to stories about these transfer deals, mate. They use the same outlets and the same newspapers as I do. Where do I get my information from? It varies, really. Predominantly, it's the likes of Damasio, Fabrizio Romano, Duncan Castles. I listen to Simon Stone. And we do listen to the tabloids as well, because they don't always get things wrong. There's no, you know, I don't read newspapers like the Daily Star or the Sun per se, but they may break a story. And the reason why you've got to look at these stories is you've got to find out where exactly the root is come from, because often you get these not small tabloids, they're big newspapers, but you get these kind of lesser newspapers that print a story and do a headline, but actually it stems from a fairly credible journalist in Portugal or in Spain or in Italy, as an example. So there we go. It's one of these things, mate. So I tell you this now, if you truly believe that I that I said As in, I knew, and I stated that Dybala was going to sign for Man United. You're off your rocker, because if you go check all the other Man United, if you go and check all the other Man United accounts, different titles, but all the Man United sort of big YouTubers, there's videos along the lines of deals done, Dybala next, Dybala confirmed, deals agreed. They all did the same thing. So you're either exceedingly ignorant or you're just trying to trigger. And as you can tell by my demeanor and the smile on my face, you're getting nowhere near triggering me talking nonsense. Hey Terry, I want to apologise for my comment on Man Utd yesterday. It didn't come across how I intended. It's hard to get the point across properly in 200 characters. I don't think he is a bad player. Now, Gregory, I understand that, and I think that I also understand people's negative feelings towards Man Utd after everybody's hopes were raised so high in relation to potentially signing Dybala. I think there's been this anti-climax, and it's like we've gone from Dybala to Man Utd, and they're different players. And Man Utd in his heyday, was a top player, and he is slightly over the hill now. Nobody's going to deny that. He would still make a good addition to the club. And I was reading reports yesterday that Juve are sending delegates again back to England to continue to negotiate for the Lukaku situation. Fabrizio Romano has stated that the Dybala situation, there's still a glimmer of hope that it could happen. So it's one of those things for me. I doubt it very, very much that we'll get Dybala. This time yesterday, the Man Utd deal looked an almost certainty, but it appears Man United are pulling away from that now. And why? Well, because Inter Milan have come in, and there's muted sounds that they're going to put in a £75 million bid for Lukaku, and United are then just going to cash in on that money. The problem that United have got is what they do with that money, and I know people said there might not be a replacement, but they could be using that money elsewhere. That money could be used to go and sign Fernandes or Savic or even Longstaff. Let's have a look at this here. How is there a difference of 8 million between a Premier League proven player, an England international, makes a worse decision than a French league rookie? Sorry. How a difference of 8 million between a Premier League proven player and England international makes a worse deal than a French league rookie that was on the bench in the African Cup of Nations? Are you talking, I think, Ahmed, are you talking there about Maguire and Pepe? Well, as a general rule, the further up the pitch a player's position is, the more expensive they are. So that kind of answers your question there. It's as simple as that. Where is Timothy Fosu Mensa? Yeah, he had a bad knee injury, didn't he? He's recovering and getting better from that. That's where he is. By the way, everyone who's tuning in, please do me a big favour and smash the like button, and please hit that share button as well. Thank you. Mohammed here says Lukaku needs to go, and once he does, we need to remember that we have a great replacement. That we have to get a replacement striker on top of getting Fernandes. Yeah, look, I've said this a few times. If we do get a replacement for Lukaku, great. But I've truly felt for a long time that may not happen. I felt for a long time that what the situation we may find ourselves in is that we use that money from Lukaku to bolster a different position. And whether that be an attacking midfielder, a creative midfielder, maybe someone who sits and plays out on that right-hand side a bit more. I don't know if we'll get a direct replacement for Lukaku. There's almost a part of me that wouldn't mind using the Lukaku money to bolster the midfield. That would make a lot of sense to me. And just so you know, I mean, a lot of people have, look, you're never going to get me to praise Woodward and the negotiating team, Matt Judges. But if we do land Savic, Longstaff, or Bruno Fernandes, if any of those three signings come in, this will actually be Manchester United's biggest summer in the history of our football club in terms of transfer fees. Now, of course, you have to put that in, there's context and relativity to add to this, because the transfer market and player prices have soared. And Fergie spending £100 million, say 10, 12 years ago. If you look at inflation, it's probably more money spent of the turnover than 150, 160, 170 million that's going to happen this year. But I think the most Man United ever spent in one summer is between 175 and 178 million. We're currently at 143. If any of the aforementioned players aforementioned players comes to the football club, this will be Man United's biggest ever transfer window in terms of monetary sum spent. It could go well over the £180 million mark. So the club is trying. The club is trying to bolster. The club is trying to buy the right types of players as well. Let's do some more of your live comments here. I think Eriksen would be a better fit than Bruno. Look, I hear what you're saying, and I think idealistically, yes, Premier League proven. We know how good a player Eriksen is. I just don't think Daniel Levy is going to do it. The only way it could happen is if you read some of the rumours going around on the socials today, is that Bruno Fernandes is getting involved in this deal. And maybe this makes the most amount of sense. Maybe he's getting involved and he is going to talk to... He's going to be involved with all four parties. And this is how someone like him, you know, he uses his contacts, he uses the respect that he has from everybody in the industry, Jorge Mendes. Maybe he is going to speak to Spurs and United and Lisbon. Maybe he's going to speak to all the agents of both sets of agents with the players. Maybe he's going to try and broker a deal that is going to see a kind of a switch, sort of a three-way switch. Spurs buying Bruno Fernandes, Man United getting Christian Eriksen. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. The issue that we have is that Daniel Levy just doesn't... Spurs have really moved beyond doing business with their domestic rivals. This is a different Tottenham. It's a different animal. And I just can't see it. Alistair here says, as a Spurs fan, you can have Eriksen, please buy him. I'd love to ask you, Alistair, just to gauge your viewpoints on this. Why would you be so happy to see him go? I would love to know. I'd love you to articulate that and explain that to us, please. Mendes was meeting him over that young lad, young Hannibal lad. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason that he was here. Maybe it's all to do with that. That could be it. That could be it. I thought that deal was done. I thought that deal was sorted, but there we go. Terrace, he says, can we have a recap on the Bruno Fernandes? I just tuned in. Of course you can. So there are a couple of new rumours circulating on social media today that Jorge Mendes has been drafted in to the situation to try and negotiate a deal. There are talks that the deal is to try and get a sort of a three-way transfer done. Bruno Fernandes to Tottenham, obviously money going into Sporting Lisbon, and then Christian Eriksen to Manchester United. There are other rumours that Jorge Mendes is solely here to try and broker a deal on behalf of Bruno Fernandes, his representatives, to negotiate a deal with Man United to get the increased bid in so that he can move and leave Sporting Lisbon. We know there are huge rumours. There is still the talk of United not ever having been interested in Bruno Fernandes. There are still some sort of continental journalists that think that the player is still to make his mind up, and that's what's holding things up. So there are so many things that are being spoken about. Kobe Smith, all the way from Tokyo, hello to you. Smith here says, Man United fans are so salty about Pepe. To be fair with you, Smith, you know I haven't been. Equally, I haven't really seen that many Man United fans going on about, like, okay, there's some of the sort of social media guys have, and yeah, I think some of them have made themselves look a little bit silly because what they've come out with kind of contradicts some of the things they said prior in the transfer window. But Man United fans, yeah, I wouldn't say they're salty about it. Yeah, don't worry about the people in the chat. Like, in the chat, everyone talks smack. Do you get what I mean? Like, that is what it is. But I think deep down inside, Man United fans are not concerned. They're not looking at Arsenal, and we shouldn't be looking at Arsenal. And I mean this with all due respect. You need to be looking at you need to be focusing upon yourselves and looking to improve what you do. Get your head down, work hard in your own lane, and you'll be fine. Woodward needs to sign Bruno Fernandes this summer. He knows it, or else the contract with Adidas is in jeopardy if we miss the top 4 again. Yeah, look, I understand that viewpoint, and that's definitely something that could happen. Not bothered about Pepe, do rate him, but we can wait for Sancho. We have Greenwood, and other positions are more important than midfielders. Yeah, Tommy, I think you're right there, and look, if we'd have signed Pepe this summer, I'd have been happy. Of course I would. Of course I would. But it isn't a position that we're in desperate need to fill. I know a lot of people want the right-hand side taken care of, but midfield, centre-backs, right-backs. Listen, what we've done, no disrespect to Arsenal. Have had a good summer, a very good summer. It could go on to be a brilliant summer if Tierney and I'm going to try and get it right. I got it right last night. Upamecano. If they sign him and Tierney, it's been a brilliant summer for Arsenal. But right now, what Man United have done with Maguire and AWB still, for me, makes United's transfer window the best so far out of the top 6. Having said that, it looks as though Man City are going to blow everybody out of the water again. Rodri looked an absolute stunning player the other day, and they're about to sign Canelo. Another fullback. Another huge amount of money spent on fullback. So it's this case of suddenly Man City are going to bring in 2 players that are just going to make their squad even better. Which is why, if we look at the title race and we focus on Liverpool, they should have been buying players, because City were always going to bring in at least 1 player. They brought in 2 top quality players. But yeah, it's a knife edge. And I think that if Man United do get a Bruno Fernandes or a Savic in, I think they win the battle of who had the best transfer window, in my view. But Arsenal's is very good as well. And any fan who's an Arsenal guy for insult at United, any United fan for insult at Arsenal, just stop being big babies. You both had good transfer windows. Get in your own lane. Focus on your own team. It might get you a few retweets. It might make you popular within your own little echo chamber of fans. But you do honestly look pathetic. You do honestly look pathetic. You're basically like the social media equivalent of a little boy, a little 3-year-old boy who wants attention from his mum and dad, so he practically stands there and pulls his willy off. And little kids do that sort of stuff, you know. There's a kid that goes to the same nursery as my boy, and he weren't there for a few weeks. And I remember speaking to his dad, and he's like, yeah, he got really angry and wanted attention, so he practically pulled his willy and balls off. That's what you guys are doing. That's what your tweets are. You're like looking for that attention. And you do get it as well, but that's because people literally fuel your flames. Just ignore those people, and they do dissipate. They pale away into insignificance, and your life is better for it. It really is. Spurs will get, this is from Toxic Headshot, who says Spurs will get Bruno for 60 million. And if they do, listen mate, if you do land Bruno Fernandes, the one thing you won't see any different on this channel is you're not going to see on this channel a difference of opinion in terms of the player. You'll see me be as consistent and as honest and as open about it as I have been. He's a brilliant player. If you get him, absolutely wonderful news for you. Just going to jump onto the socials here and see what people are saying on the likes of Twitter about this deal. Also, I'm going to still interact with what you guys are saying. There's a really good tweet here actually that came out, and I think this is a good reflection on what's going on at Man United. It says Tielemans, Ndombele, Ceballos, Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, Lo Celso and Van de Beek available all summer, and you're telling me United didn't think any of them midfielders were necessary. Club is not serious anymore. When they finish 6th and Oli gets the boot, the cycle continues. And I think that's a really good point to make. There are so many midfielders available. There are so many midfielders that Man United could have purchased this year. To not have got any of them done, to not have got anything over the line, I think is absolutely criminal. Here's from MUFC Scoop that says Jorge Mendes is in Manchester today. There is a possibility that Bruno Fernandes will be offered to Manchester United, who have said they have an interest in the player, but have also briefed consistently that they have made no moves for him. That's from Duncan Castles. Now, it's an interesting one because I saw this kind of conspiracy theory tweet the other day from a Glazer Out account, and they're talking about how United are briefing the press that they're not interested in Bruno Fernandes, so that if they don't land him, if they miss out, they can say they've got their sights are set elsewhere and they're waiting on something else. And a lot of them think it's kind of Glazer propaganda. I don't know where you guys sit and think and feel on that. There's loads of other tweets. 60 to 70 million for Eriksen or Fernandes. Eriksen is Premier League proven, but he's 27. Bruno Fernandes is younger and a more attacking midfielder. What would you prefer? It's an interesting tweet, and I think if you go through the responses, yeah, someone says it doesn't matter because we ain't getting either. It's what one of the Glazer Out accounts sort of says, and I do get that. Yeah, a lot of people talking about what was on the transfer podcast by Duncan Castles. Jorge Mendes in Manchester today and could offer Bruno Fernandes to United amongst strong Spurs interest. This is another tweet here. It says, One Pizzaka announcement was made on the 29th of June and has ended up wearing the number 29. Okay. Harry Maguire's announcement was made on the 5th of August and he's going to wear number 5. Bruno Fernandes on the 8th and giving him the number 8 shirt for Mata and give Mata a squad number. Yeah, that's one of them conspiracy theory things that absolutely makes no sense. But then you do get tweets like this as well. So we obviously announced Harry Maguire yesterday, and then you get the tweet above it that just says, "Don't let this distract you. We still need Bruno Fernandes." Come on, like they still had to announce the Maguire signing. Just drop your hate and your salt for 1 single second. A few people here saying eagerly awaiting for David and Moyle to update us on Bruno Fernandes, a signing we were supposed to complete after the Super Cup. And that's just it. You know, David M. Moyle is a very credible, I haven't even looked at David M. Moyle's account. David M. Moyle is a very credible journalist. He and a few others said that the deal was pretty much done. The deal was pretty much complete after the Super Cup. That hasn't come to fruition. Want to understand why. Really would like to understand why. I don't think he's tweeted anything out about this deal at all. He's just tweeting about, I'm just looking here. It's mainly about basketball, which isn't great. Come on, David M. Moyle. We want an update from you. We might hear something today, but we'll see how that goes. See if we've had any response on Twitter to this. Everybody looks like they're sick and tired of the Bruno Fernandes deal, and I totally understand that, and I totally get it as well. Let's do some more of your live comments on here. I'd rather Phil Jones in central midfield than Matic. True story. Carrick is working on Longstaff secretly. I read that rumor, and he won't be working on it secretly. He won't be having meetings with the player. Excuse me. Because that's a complete and utter breach of regulation. Man United can talk to the player via an intermediary. There are ways and guys of talking to players without breaking rules, but Carrick working on it secretly, absolutely no chance. Finger chicken good says defense is sorted. Let's not get greedy. Pep and Klopp bought their defense first and now challenge for the title. I think you can draw a comparison with Liverpool. It took Liverpool a number of years to elevate themselves to the squad that they had. City did it very, very quickly and already had a very good team as well. Genwin here with the super chat says, what's your stance on posts comparing Mustafi to Maguire? Do you see do I see Tuanzebe going on loan? There is the possibility that Tuanzebe could go on loan. Absolutely no doubt about that. He could. I hope he doesn't, though. I hope he remains at the football club and gets game time. On comparing Mustafi to Maguire, if you look at the stats of defenders, certain particular stats like tackles and clearances, interceptions, headers won, generally speaking, the lower down the league table you go, there's more opportunities for the lesser teams defenders to clear balls, to intercept balls, to make tackles because they get attacked upon more by their rivals. Arsenal leaked so many opportunities. They leaked so many opportunities last season. Came through the midfield. They had so much defending to do. Of course, there's a possibility that the likes of Mustafi's statistical numbers are going to be higher. And equally, it only shows that Mustafi made one error that led to a goal. But everybody knows that's not true. Like statistically, like what they define as an error leading to the goal is one thing, but we saw errors from him every single day, every single week. So yes, okay, statistically on paper he's better, but then if you compare Mustafi against Virgil van Dijk, there are a number of those areas in terms of tackles won and clearances made that are better than Virgil van Dijk. So if he's better than Maguire statistically, because of statistics, he's better than Van Dijk in certain areas because of statistics, and he simply isn't. What I would say about Mustafi is that when he's on form, when he's on point, he's a very good defender. The problem is his form is too inconsistent. He will make one or two mistakes every single game. He's awful. He really is awful. At the elite level I'm talking about here. So it's one of those things to me. I see it and people can throw it around, but no real football fan is taking it seriously. It's just one of those dead banter things that people throw around to try and make a joke. People use it to try and just belittle the signing. And the only people that get impacted by it are the weak-minded. The weak-minded people, the sensitive people, the weak-minded people, they're doing it to trigger you. And if you're triggered by it, then it's worked. Just ignore it. We all know that Mustafi is not as good as Maguire. We know this for an absolute fact. And we also know how much Arsenal fans despise him as a player. But now they're trying to use him as a tool to beat Man United over the head with. Just ignore them. I told you, it's attention seeking. And the way you stop attention seeking is by ignoring it. I think it's meaningless to talk about a transfer now with 24 hours left. Our board takes too long to do deals. Doesn't know how the board can see this midfield working in the top four. No Herrera replacement and static Matic. Look, I think there is definitely the possibility that signings can be done in the last couple of days. I know they tend to take too long, but that doesn't mean they can't get. This board, like it or lump it, have landed some last-minute deals before. My hope is that they're not panic buyers and they are players that we've been going after. But I do get your point and understand it. Do me a big favour, smash that like button. Please hit the share button as well. We'll be back later on today with some more news for you. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you all in a bit. Bye-bye.